Hello students, today we are going to discuss about the transportation. What transportation is? Transportation is the movement of material from one part to another, usually from the region of availability to the region of their use, storage and elimination. And this transportation in human being is carried by circulatory system. Okay, circulatory system. Human circulatory system comprises of basically three things. One is heart, the second one is blood. Along with the blood we can take lymph also, blood lymph, and the third one is blood vessels. Okay, so these are the three parts or the components of circulatory system. Now we will discuss each and every system in brief. Let's take first blood. Okay, in an adult human being, there is about 5 to 6 liters of blood in body. Right? Now, what blood is? Actually, blood is a fluid connective tissue that we have studied in our previous class. That means in class 9th we studied that it is a fluid connective tissue. Okay, and what are the components of blood? The components of blood are plasma, then second is RBC, that is red blood cells, the third one is WBC, that is white blood cells, and the next one is platelets. So plasma is a fluid part of the blood, right? And it constitutes 55% of the blood. Rest RBC, WBC and platelets are the types of cells in the blood, and it constitutes 45% of the blood. Now, let's talk about RBC. RBC is red blood cell and it contains a pigment called hemoglobin. What? It contains a pigment called hemoglobin. And this hemoglobin is responsible for the carrier of oxygen in the body. Now, WBC are white blood cells and these act as soldiers in our body. What are platelets? Platelets are another type of cells, and this helps in blood clotting and plugging at the place of injury. Now we will talk about blood vessels. In our blood vessels are of three types. One is arteries, next one is veins, and the third one is capillaries. Arteries, veins and capillaries. Right? Now, what is the basic difference between arteries and veins? Now, the capillaries we will discuss later on. First, we will see the difference between arteries and veins. Arteries carries blood from heart to body parts, right? Whereas veins collects blood. Veins क्या करती है? What veins do? Veins collect blood from body parts and takes back it to the heart. This is the first basic difference. The second difference is arteries always carries oxygenated blood, and this carries deoxygenated blood. The third one is the walls of arteries. Walls of arteries are elastic and muscular. Elastic and muscular. Whereas these are non-elastic. Walls are non-elastic, and yes, these are thin also. Thick, sorry. The walls of arteries are elastic, muscular and thick, whereas the walls of veins are non-elastic and thin. Now, the fourth point is valves are absent in arteries. Valves absent. Why valves are absent? That we will discuss later. And in this, valves are present. right? Now the flow of blood in arteries is very rapid. That rapid flow of blood can be seen in arteries, whereas in this the blood flows slowly. Rapid flow of blood, and in this the flow of blood is slow. Other than that, arteries are deeply seated. That means they cannot be seen on the surface of the body, whereas they are not deeply seated, they are superficial, right? Superficial. Superficial, that means they are placed on the surface, right? So these are some basic differences. I am repeating it once again. Arteries carries blood from heart to body parts, whereas veins collect blood from body parts to heart. Arteries carry oxygenated blood. That means the amount of oxygen is more, whereas veins carry deoxygenated blood. That means the amount of oxygen is less, whereas the amount of carbon dioxide is more. Third is the walls of arteries are thick and elastic, whereas the walls of veins are non-elastic and thin. In this, valves are absent, whereas the valves are present in the veins. The flow of blood in the arteries is rapid, whereas the flow of blood is slow. And the next is the arteries are seated deeply, right? Whereas in this the arteries are superficial. Now we will talk about the capillaries. The smallest vessels, these are the smallest vessels which have the walls which are 1 cell thick, right? And how these arteries are formed, capillaries are formed? See what happened when these arteries divide and redivide and forms arterioles, right? Arteries divide and redivide to form arterioles. These arterioles finally divide and forms capillaries. Okay. Now what happens? These capillary reaches to the organs, and these again these capillaries reunite and forms venules, and these venules opens in veins. This is how capillaries works. Once again, arteries divide and redivide to form arterioles. These arterioles are finally divided into very fine vessels. These are called capillaries. These capillaries reunite and forms venules. These venules open in vein. Now, here is the third component of our circulatory system. It is very important, that is the heart. It is the machinery which never requires repairing. Once it is required repairing, that means life finishes. Now see, the color of the heart is reddish. Size is equal to the size of the fist. Its approximate length is 12 centimeters, the breadth is 9 centimeter. When we talk about the weight, it is 300 grams in male and 250 gram in female. This is all the approximate. Now location. It is present in thoracic cavity between the lungs. Now chambers. It has 4 chambers, 2 atriums and 2 ventricles. Atrium are also known as auricles, right? 2 auricle means 1 left atrium, right atrium, and 2 ventricles, 1 left ventricle and right ventricle. Now here we are talking about the structure of heart, right? As I told you just now that the human heart is 4 chambered. The right half and the left half. The right half is separated by the left arm by a septum, right? Now again the right half has 2 portions. One is right half has 2 portions. One is right atrium. The upper part is right atrium. The lower part is right ventricle. Similarly, the left part of the heart again divided into 2 parts, left atrium and left ventricle. In between the left atrium and left ventricle, there is a valve that is called bicuspid valve. And similarly, in between the right atrium and the right ventricle there is a valve that is called tricuspid valve. Now partition between left and right half is useful in separating oxygenated and deoxygenated blood. This separation allows highly efficient supply of oxygen to the body. This is useful in animals that have high energy needs such as birds and mammals. Why birds and mammals? Because birds and mammals have warm-blooded animals and they constantly use energy to maintain their body temperature with the environment. So the demand of energy is very high, and that high demand of energy is fulfilled only and only when there is no mixing of oxygenated and deoxygenated blood. Now students, the very important topic in our circulatory system is flow of blood in heart. How blood flows in the heart, as we have 4 chambers from where the blood comes, where it goes. So what is the path of the blood, that I am going to tell you now. See what happens. The blood is oxygenated in lungs. Okay? This oxygenated blood is taken by pulmonary vein. Pulmonary vein. As I told you earlier that vein carries deoxygenated blood, but here it is an exception. It carries oxygenated blood. Okay, pulmonary vein carries oxygenated blood from the lungs and brings it in the left atrium. From left atrium, the blood grows in left ventricle. From left ventricle, when the left ventricle contracts, it pushes the blood, and this blood is taken by the main artery, that is aorta. And this aorta then divides into various arteries. From these arteries finally divides into arterioles and then finally divide into capillaries. These capillaries are connected with the various organs of the body. Here the oxygen from the blood is given to the cells and carbon dioxide is taken back. These capillaries then finally joins and joins in veins. Right? Now, from these veins carry deoxygenated blood from the various body parts. That means veins are the collecting blood vessels and these are the distributing blood vessels. So vein collects the blood from the body parts and brings this blood back to right atrium. And vena cava, this is vena cava. Vena cava is the main vein which brings blood to right atrium. From right atrium or right auricle. From right atrium, the blood goes to right ventricle, and then this right ventricle pumps the blood or pushes the blood for oxygenation to the lungs. This is how the circulation in the heart takes place. See, to complete one cycle, blood comes twice in the heart. Once it comes in the left portion and then it comes in the right. So this, to complete one cycle when blood comes twice in the heart, this is called double circulation, right? And this double circulation takes place in aves and mammals, right? Now, this double circulation, when we have to describe double circulation is in 2 parts. One is the circulation between the heart and lungs. This is called pulmonary circulation. Pulmonary circulation. And the circulation between the heart and the body parts. This is called systemic circulation. This is called systemic circulation. So, how will you define double circulation? To complete one cycle, blood comes twice in the heart and this twice in the heart, this double circulation comprises of two parts: pulmonary circulation and systemic circulation. The circulation of blood between the lungs and the heart is pulmonary circulation, and between the heart and body part is systemic circulation. There is another type of fluid which also helps in transportation, and this is called lymph, or it is also called as tissue fluid. Okay, lymph or tissue fluid. Through the pores present in the walls of capillaries. We know that capillaries are that blood vessels which takes blood to each organ. So from the pores of those capillaries, some amount of plasma, protein and blood cells escape into the intercellular space in the tissue, and that forms the tissue fluid. Okay. It is similar to the plasma of blood but colorless and contains less amount of protein. This lymph drains into lymphatic vessels. Lymphatic vessels. From the intracellular larger veins, lymph carries digested and absorbed fat from intestine and drains excess fluid from extracellular space back into the blood. The last topic we discuss here is the blood pressure. What is blood pressure? The force that blood exerts against the walls of the vessel is called blood pressure. Okay. This pressure is more in arteries compared to the veins. Now, before proceeding more with the blood pressure, here you will come with two new words, that is diastole and systole. What is diastole? When blood comes in the auricles, those auricles expands. That is called the diastole. And when these auricles or ventricles contract, that is called systole. Now see, in blood pressure what happens? The pressure of blood inside the artery during ventricular systole, that means the contraction. Ventricular systole means contraction of the ventrioles. It's called systolic pressures. And the pressure in the arteries during ventricle diastole is that is relaxation, is called diastolic pressure. So what is the normal systolic pressure? Normal systolic pressure is 120 mm of Hg, and the diastolic pressure is 80 mm of Hg, right? So how it is written, whenever we go to a doctor and doctor checks our blood pressure, it is normally written systole upon diastole. That means a normal human being has a blood pressure of 120/80. If it is more than that, then it is called hypertension, and if it is less than this, then it is called hypotension. Blood pressure is measured with an instrument called sphygmomanometer. Sphygmomanometer. Okay. So I hope everything is clear to you. In our next module, we will learn transportation in plants. Thank you. Hello students. In this video, we are going to talk about transportation in plants. In my previous video, I taught you about the transportation in animals. As we have stated earlier, that plants perform photosynthesis, right? Photosynthesis. And for this photosynthesis, they require raw materials. And what are those raw materials? Those raw materials are basically carbon dioxide and water. Carbon dioxide is taken by the stomata or those parts of the plant which are in direct contact with the environment. And water is taken in through roots from soil. Now see, if the distance between the soil contacting organ and chlorophyll containing organ, because chlorophyll is the major raw material which is already present in the plant. So if the distance between the soil contacting organ that means the roots, and the chlorophyll containing, that means the leaves, in the organ is smaller, if this distance is less, then only diffusion process will work. But if the distance is large, then this diffusion process will not work. For that, a strong transportation system is required, right? Now, what happens in plants? The work of transportation is done by vascular tissues, right? And what are those vascular tissues? The two basic vascular tissues in plants are xylem and phloem. The function of xylem is to transport water from where to where? Transport water from we can say roots to other parts, right? Other parts, like mainly this water is transported to, or leave this other parts, water is transported from root to leaves. And now what is the function of the phloem? Phloem transports the photosynthetic product, right? That photosynthetic product from leaves to other parts of plant parts, right? Plant parts. And actually this the food which is transported is actually the transportation of energy. Now we will discuss transport of water. As I told you just now that transportation of water is done by a vascular tissue known as xylem. And xylem is a complex permanent tissue that we have studied in class 9, and the elements of xylem are tracheids, vessels, xylem fiber and xylem parenchyma. Out of these four components, basically tracheids and vessels are mainly responsible for the transportation of water. These tracheids and vessels are interconnected interconnected to form a continuous system of water connecting channels reaching to all parts of plants, right? In the root, right? At the root cells, where the root cells are in direct contact with the soil, right? Here the soil takes up ions. This creates difference in concentration of ion inside the root and outside. Then water therefore moves into the root from the soil to eliminate this difference. This creates a root pressure and moves from epidermis to the root xylem, like this. Clear? Now water from soil entered into the root xylem. Now how this water moves upward? As we have already studied about the term called transpiration. Transpiration. What is transpiration? Yes, it is the removal of excess water from the leaves in the form of water vapor, right? Now, how this transpiration helps in sending the water up to the higher level. Now, see what happens. The transpiration from the cells of leaf generates a suction pull, right? Now, here, when water is transpired from the leaves, this creates a suction pull, and due to that suction pull, the water is transported upwards. This is how the water moves upward. Now, transport of food and other substances. So far, we have discussed about transport of water and mineral. The transportation of soluble products of photosynthesis, or in simple terms, the transportation of food prepared by the leaves is done by the vascular tissue called phloem. So this transportation of food by phloem is called translocation. Translocation. So what is translocation? Transportation of food with the help of phloem. And what are the elements of phloem? The four elements of phloem are sieve tube, companion cell, then phloem fiber, then phloem parenchyma. Basically, sieve tube and companion cell, these two are responsible for the transportation of food or responsible for translocation. The sieve tube along with the companion cell is responsible in both the direction, upward direction as well as downward direction of the food. So phloem not only transfers these soluble products, it also transfers amino acids and other substances, right? Other substances. So this translocation process is achieved by utilizing energy. As xylem is transportation in xylem is just a physical process, whereas translocation is achieved by utilizing energy from ATP. These movements of material in phloem is due to difference in osmotic pressure. So children, this is all about the transport of food and other substances. I hope you understood, and please once go through the topic given in your book, then only you will be able to understand. In our next video, we will continue with the excretion in human beings. Hello children, in this video we are going to discuss about the process of excretion. What exactly excretion is? It is a biological process involved in removal of harmful metabolic waste from the body, right? And what that harmful metabolic waste contain? It contains nitrogenous waste like urea, uric acid, and this urea and uric acid is generated during the breakdown of proteins in the body. For the removal of such metabolic product, we have a strong excretory system in our body. Our excretory system includes a pair of kidney, a pair of ureter, urinary bladder and urethra. Now let's talk about the kidney. Kidney is reddish brown in color. Okay, reddish brown in color. Now it is bean shaped. And what is its location? It is present on the either side of the backbone. Either side of backbone. In the abdominal cavity, right? Now, ureter. These are a pair of tube about 30 centimeter in length. And what is the function of these tubes? These are 30 centimeter approximately in length. Now, these carries urine from kidney to ureter. Sorry, urinary bladder. Now, urinary bladder, what is the function of urinary bladder? It stores urine brought by the ureter, and its storage capacity is 300 to 800 ml. But be careful that 800 ml is the very painful condition. Now urethra. This urethra takes urine from urinary bladder to outside the body. Now see the process. Blood comes in kidney, right? Blood comes in kidney. Now from kidney it goes through ureter, it goes to urinary bladder. From urinary bladder, urethra, right? This formation of urine is not that simple as we are talking here. So now we will discuss how urine is produced. How urine is produced, okay? Or what is the significance of this Formation of urine. Urine is formed to filter out nitrogenous waste such as urea and uric acid from the blood in the kidney. So now what happens? The blood comes in kidney, right? That I have already told you. Now what happens in the kidney, that is very important. Each kidney contains millions of filters. Millions of filters, each kidney, right? And these filters are called nephrons. And these are the, we can say, the most important structure or the part which is helpful in the formation of urine. Now we will discuss about the structure of nephron. As I told you that there are millions of nephrons in each kidney. Now see the structure of nephron. This nephron has a cup-shaped structure called Bowman's capsule. In Bowman's capsule, a cluster of capillaries is there, that is called glomerulus. Okay. Then one blood vessel that brings blood, that is the renal artery. And one more blood vessel you can see that is coming out from the glomerulus, that is renal vein. Now you can see here a tubule, right? This is tubule. Now at the end of the tubule you see here one more tube, that is called the collecting duct. Collecting duct. Now see what all process takes place in this. The renal artery brings oxygenated blood laden with waste product in glomerulus. Here the blood is filtered in fine capillaries. These are the cluster of capillaries. That blood filters in this capillaries. That is ultrafiltration of blood takes place. Now some amount of small solute and water is filtered out and enters in the Bowman's capsule, like here, right? Enters in the Bowman's capsule. From here the urine is passed through this tubule, and as the urine flows along the tubule, the selective reabsorption of those materials, as I told you, some amount of small solute water, some glucose, some amino acid. So these veins surrounds these tubules, right? And these veins, here the selective reabsorption of glucose, amino acids, amount of water, soluble salts which left behind this urine is selectively reabsorbed by these veins, and then the urine left is collected in this collecting duct, and this renal vein then takes the blood now which is free from the nitrogenous waste, right? Now urine is collected here, right? The amount of urine formed depends on how much excess water is there in the body and how much water is to be excreted. Now from collecting duct, this urine passes to urinary bladder through urethra, right? Urine is stored in bladder until the pressure of the expanded bladder leads to the urge to pass it out through the urethra. The amount of urine excreted is about 1.5 to 1.8 liters in a day. But the quantity of urine may increase or decrease depending upon the intake of the fluid. So this is all about the excretion in human being. Now we will talk about the artificial kidney. Artificial kidney is also known as hemodialysis. Sometimes due to injury, infection or restricted flow of blood to the kidney, it reduces the activity of kidney. Due to this, kidney failure may take place. Waste products start accumulating in the blood, which can even lead to the death of a person. In such case, artificial kidney is used to remove this waste, right? Now see, this is the dialyzing machine on which the dialysis is done, right? this machine contains number of tubes which are semi-permeable, okay, and these are suspended in a tank containing a dialyzing fluid. This fluid has the same osmotic pressure as the blood, except that this fluid does not contain nitrogenous waste. The patient blood is passed through these tubes. During this passage, the waste product from the blood pass into dialyzing fluid. By the process of diffusion, the purified blood now sent back to the body, patient's body. This is similar to the kidney function, but it is also different that there is no reabsorption involved. Normally, in a healthy person, the initial filtrate in the kidney is about 180 liters daily. However, the volume actually excreted is only a liter or a 2 a day, because the remaining filtrate is reabsorbed in the kidney tubules, as we saw in the structure of the nephron. So children, this is all about the hemodialysis. I hope you understood it. In our next video, we will see the excretion in plants.